If you're a freelancer, you're probably wondering how you can get more clients. And not only that, but get clients who will pay you more. What if I told you there's only one thing that you need to do that when you get it right, makes selling your services for more money easy? The one thing is what took my freelance business from 5 figures to multiple 6 figures per year and has enabled me to run a highly profitable freelance consulting business for more than 2 decades. The best part is it's not some new sophisticated method that takes years and years to learn. Because when it comes to selling your services, even to high value clients, it's actually really simple. As freelancers, we're the ones who make it complicated. And the reason things seem complicated is just because you don't know how selling works yet. Let me give you an illustration. Imagine you're the owner of a hot dog stand. Now, what's the number one factor in determining how many hot dogs you sell? Is it the best location? Maybe you're in the heart of the business district, or think about being next to a busy metro station. Or is it the lowest price? Having a reputation that you offer the best deal across the entire city. Maybe it's having the highest quality hot dogs. You know, those 100% natural, no preservatives. Or is it having the freshest hot dog buns? Or could it be having the most condiments? You know, ketchup, mustard, relish, onions, even chili sauce. I mean, who can resist a good chili dog? I'm going to call this one selection. So if you were to choose one of these factors that would guarantee you'd sell out every single time, which would it be? Well, actually, it's none of them. The number one factor for you to outsell, number one factor for you to sell out of your hot dogs is having a group of starving people. Not just a group of people, but people who are ravenously hungry. Maybe even hangry. You see, you could have the best location in the whole city, but if the people walking by aren't hungry, you won't sell any hot dogs. You could have the highest quality hot dogs for miles around, but if the people who see your hot dog stand just finished having lunch, you won't sell any hot dogs. Now, how do we relate this to selling your freelance services to your clients? At the end of the day, it all boils down to just one thing. This one thing is hiding in plain sight in the stuff that's being sold to you, in stuff you buy every single day. Let's think about it. Why do you buy shoes? Well, because walking barefoot everywhere would hurt. Imagine walking through the ice and the snow. Or imagine walking across a gravelly parking lot. Ouch. Why do you buy medicine? Well, you buy medicine because you're not feeling well. Maybe you have a sinus headache or you have a sore throat. Why do you buy a car? Because without a car, you can't get to your job. Without a job, you can't pay your rent or your mortgage, and that would leave you homeless. Now, how awful would that be? So what do all these decisions to buy have in common? Well, you buy because you want to make something go away, and that something is pain. If you're at the drugstore and you're feeling perfectly healthy, do you buy medicine? No. I mean, you probably should so that you have it when you get sick. But if we're being honest, we don't. We buy it when we get sick. If we're not sick, we're not going to buy the medicine. Here's the principle. If there's no pain, there's no payment. In other words, no one's going to give you money just because you have services to sell. The key to getting clients to pay you for your services is by selling them something that makes their pain go away. All you need to do is figure out what their pain is. Now, how do you do that? Well, let's think about it. When you go to the doctor, how does your doctor do it? Simple, right? He or she asks, does this hurt? The same goes for you as a freelancer. You just need to ask. Specifically, you need to get to know your potential clients and their pain. And like your doctor knows more than you do about what certain kind of pain means, you need to know more about your client's pain than they do themselves. Now, you might be saying to yourself, I get the concept of pain when it comes to a doctor, but when it comes to companies or organizations, it just doesn't seem as obvious to me. Well, here's another way to look at it. When you're looking for what pain points a company or an organization has, think of it this way. In order to be a legitimate pain that a company is willing to pay for, all of the following must be true. Have PAIN. P stands for people. As you're asking your potential client questions, you need to think about the things that are negatively impacting people. Things like job stress, things like having to work overtime, maybe losing employees. Maybe it's the owner who can't pay the bills because of issues in their business. They're facing the prospect of going out of business. They're facing the prospect of job losses to all their employees. Think of the pain that that would cause an owner. A stands for R. This must be a current pain, not a future one. There must be an urgency to it. If a pain isn't urgent enough, they're not going to worry about it. It's kind of the opposite of instant gratification. And the reason of this is that companies are very busy. They have many things to worry about. So if it's not something that's a current pain, they're not going to pay attention to it. I stands for in. The people that are in the pain, it must be their pain, not someone else's pain. So when you're dealing with a person, when you're dealing with this issue, make sure that you're dealing with a person in pain. Not a VIP, but a PIP. You must be dealing with the person who is in pain. They're the ones that are going to feel this most intensely. And they're going to be the ones who are going to advocate for the problem, for solving the problem that you're trying to help your client with. And N stands for need. This issue, whatever it is, must be a need to have, not just a nice to have. There are a lot of things that companies would like to do, but what do they absolutely need to do to achieve their business goals? So whenever you're looking for a potential client's pain, look at it through this 4-part lens. It's crucial that you understand this for you to sell your services and earn more as a freelancer. When you get it right, this makes selling easy. If you don't get this right, it's going to be very hard for you to get more clients and to get better paying clients. So to help you even more, I'm going to walk through a list of 7 common pain points that companies have. Going through these will help you be able to start recognizing needs that your potential clients have. Number 1 is revenue pain. The need here is, more revenue, more income. Companies need more positive cash flow. This is probably the number 1 pain for every business in the entire world. It's the main thing that can cause a company to go out of business. Recently I was working on a business intelligence implementation for a client. This is a client in an industry with very low margins. So they need a high volume of transactions, and they have a lot of customer data because of all these transactions. They knew that giving their customers a way to get insights from that data would be a very attractive benefit for customers working with them. But they also knew that no other competitors in their industry had anything like that. So I did a business intelligence implementation for them. And not only did their existing clients love it, but they ended up using this as a sales tool when meeting with potential clients. This generated tens of millions of dollars in new business for them. And even today, they continue to win new business with this tool. Next pain is expenses pain. The need here is simply to cut costs. This also is one of the biggest pain points for any business. The cost of services, overhead costs, labor costs. You could lump these all together and call them just the costs of doing business. If costs exceed revenue for a long enough period of time, this will put a company out of business. I worked on a project for a credit union where they were spending $250,000 annually on paper document delivery. They knew that if they could convert their members to use electronic documents instead of these paper documents, they could eliminate this cost from their budget. This project involved a website redesign where I implemented conversion optimization. And within the first few months, just the first few months, the electronic document signups were up by 25%. This client was well on their way to reducing that cost of theirs to a minimum. That means they could deploy those resources, those financial resources they have elsewhere towards growing their members, towards improving the services they provide for their members, growing out their footprint, growing out their physical locations to make it more convenient for their members. The third type of pain is productivity pain. The need here is to reduce friction, to get more done in less time. Now, every company could be more productive, but there are issues that severely compromise a company's ability to get basic tasks done. And this is what I'm talking about. This can significantly impact a company's ability to be competitive. If they can't provide these services efficiently, the truth is someone else will. Their competitors will. Recently I led a client's migration to a new software platform. In their industry, it would be the equivalent of an ERP system. So a very large software migration. And during the migration, the client ran into a huge issue that had no solution. See, they had all these products as they were migrating the data from one system to another. They had a very large product database, all their customers' products. Now, these products have each one of them over 800 characteristics. And these characteristics change frequently due to the nature of their business. The new system they were moving to had no way to do these bulk updates of these products. It would have taken their staff many thousands of hours per year just to keep everything updated. So I created a tool during the migration. I created a tool using Excel. I wanted something that everyone would be familiar with. And I wrote code inside of Excel that would first pull the product data so whatever products had been loaded into the new system, pull that down from the vendor's API, convert it from XML into a flat format that would go into the Excel spreadsheet, allowed their staff to update those products in just a matter of minutes, and they could click a button and it would push that data, would wrap it in XML, and it would push it back into the vendor's web service and into their system. This gave them such a quick and easy way to update their data that they actually continue to use it even today. The fourth pain is the pain of legal or compliance. The first three, revenue, expenses, productivity, can slowly erode a company's ability to stay in business. Legal issues, on the other hand, can put a company out of business overnight. They can literally shut the company down in an instant. The software migration project, the main reason for it was due to compliance issues. The reason my client hired me to lead this project was because their old software had been purchased by another software company and they were no longer going to maintain it. This meant the software would not keep up to date with all of the government regulations that would keep changing. So they were forced to move to a new platform. Now, this move took a couple years to complete. Very large client. Their customers are also very large. This is a 9-figure company. And during the 2-year move, this was an incredibly high paying project from start to finish. And while my client was aware of how much this was costing them, at no point did they ever waver in their financial commitment to the project. Why? Because they couldn't. Their backs were against the wall. It was literally the one thing they absolutely had to do to stay in business. Now, the fifth kind of pain is scaling pain. What do I mean by that? The need here is to grow, to add services, to add customers. All companies have a scale below which they won't be able to stay in business. And so companies that aren't able to grow will eventually fail. They just won't be able to keep up with the competition because the competition will eventually be able to grow and to offer more products and services. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, 20% of companies don't make it past that first year, and 50% go out of business in the first 5 years. So you can see there's quite a few companies who likely, for one reason or another, but probably scaling issues, are not able to compete and they end up going out of business. So the stakes are very high when it comes to being able to scale. Recently, and I'm still currently in this project, my client needed to move from their current business intelligence platform to a new one. They wanted to go to Power BI Embedded. This platform is something that's wrapped in their customer portal. And they really wanted to be able to offer the dashboards and visualizations they have to all their customers. But in their old platform, that required having an additional license for each new user. Now, this client of mine has customers, and overall, there are many thousands or even tens of thousands of users. This made it cost prohibitive to try to scale their old platform. So they made this decision to migrate to Power BI Embedded. The great thing about Power BI Embedded is that there's no license requirement for end users, which makes it way more affordable to scale. And moving to Power BI Embedded puts them in this position to be able to scale their services and ultimately to scale their customer base so they can keep growing. Now, the sixth type of pain is process pain. The need here is to have efficient processes, and most of the time, those efficient processes need to leverage modern technology. This pain is often the result of an organization that's outgrown old workflows, or sometimes it can even be just culture. Some organizations, some companies just keep things the same. They keep doing something the way they've always done it in the past. These kinds of inflexible processes end up putting a lot of strain on the people that use them. And overall, it slows down the company's ability to deliver the products and services that they're in the market to deliver. A few years ago, I was working on a project for a client. This is a client who's in the nonprofit space. They're specifically in human services. Now, any client in the nonprofit space has limited staff to work with. The workflow that they had in place from their older system required gathering data out in the field that they literally had to write on paper and keep in folders. Then they had to come back to the office at the end of a long day and enter that data into the system because they just didn't have a way to access the system they had at the time remotely. This effectively doubled the work that they had to do. In addition, it introduced the potential for data entry errors. And with their limited funding, they really needed to be able to maximize the resources they had. So I developed a new software system for them. This software system enabled them to have web-based remote access. Also, it was a responsive design, so it worked well on any mobile device. So there's no need for them to have to lug a laptop around. They could use it on a phone, they could use it on a tablet. Also, what I did was I replaced any of their paper forms with electronic versions. And in addition, optimized their entire overall workflow. This enabled them to maximize the limited resources they had. And that allowed them to provide more services and even better services to their community. Now, the next type of pain is technical pain. The need here is typically technical expertise or even domain knowledge to solve a problem. Now, of all the pain types, this can actually be the easiest to sell, provided you have the expertise and the experience. Why? Well, why is it the easiest to sell? Well, because it often comes up as an urgent issue. When putting out a fire, does the fire department first consider how much it will cost? No, they rush there with sirens blaring, they set their nozzles wide open, and they throw everything they have at putting the fire out. And this is the same thing that most potential clients would do when they have these kinds of urgent technical issues. Now, one of the projects I'm working on right now involves a custom report platform that my client has. A while ago, the code was rewritten to pull data from a data warehouse instead of the API that was pulling data from before. And months ago, that was released to production. It was done by a few members of the dev team. Apparently, not much QA was done prior to the release because one of my client's customers was reviewing one of their quarterly reports, and they complained to my client that the report contained bad data. Now, overnight, in an instant, this became, in the words of my client, a code red. And when I dug in and looked at what the dev team had done in the rewrite, honestly, there wasn't a lot that was taken into account. Doing it correctly required both technical knowledge and also domain knowledge. And the dev team who did the rewrite was lacking in both of these. And while digging in, I also found, believe it or not, issues with the vendor's data. So there were problems galore with this project. I literally just completed the fixes as of the time of this recording, and I've sent the report to QA. But here, solving this client's technical pain is now going to allow them to bring their focus back to their business, to serving their customers, to meeting their needs, to providing a high level of service that they're accustomed to, and ultimately being able to grow their business. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and I'll see you next time.